We need people like Musk for innovation. Without them, we're standing still. Okay, you agree that you disagree. That's good. Okay, Paris.
It's kind of like what I was talking about before. I think that technological development is related to the social and economic conditions in which it happens. I think someone like Elon Musk is the product of the 1990s and the privatization of the internet, right? The internet was privatized in 1995. There was a lot of kind of capital and investment that flooded into these new kind of internet-based tech companies. And there were a lot of people in that moment who really lucked out, who didn't necessarily have a proper business model, who didn't have a company that was going to be like a big success. For example, Elon Musk, his first company was Zip2. The board tried to get rid of them. It tried to get rid of him. Actually, they might have actually gotten rid of him in the end. And they basically engineered a sale to Compaq, a previous computer maker, to get rid of it right before the dot-com bubble went bust. So he was not some like kind of genius tech startup founder or anything like that. He was someone who lucked in on a moment where there was a lot of economic excitement about this new sector. And we see that with a lot of these tech billionaires who dominate us today. It's not because they are so intelligent, so brilliant, so smart, so much better than the rest of us. It's because they happened to be in the right place at the right time. They were very lucky. They made a lot of money as a result of that. And now they try to use that money to convince us that actually they are a superior being. They're so much smarter than us. And that is not true. Yeah.
Thank you.
We can develop great technology without an Elon Musk.
Yes, with you too. Okay, Ben.
I would even go a step further. So I agree with what Paris says, but right now, because of the position they have, they are hindering development. They are hindering development of new technologies. They say the solution to everything, invest more in AI, in our AI. Well, no, we should invest in people. And yesterday we had a very, very interesting talk about people using LLMs to support social workers in Antwerp. Really see what...
LLM, can you...
using chatbots.
Yeah, sorry.
Making chatbots to
I'm not
answer,
used to the
answer questions.
You don't know the lingo, yeah.
And so this is real innovation because, in the end, they decide, is it really helping or not? And when it helps, it's a step further. When it's not, there is no prerogative or some kind of push, you should use it. No, we just go on and maybe develop other kinds of tech, maybe not technology, like computer technology, but maybe other social constructions are way more useful in these kind of cases. And that's what technology and innovation should be about. It's about making things that are better for the people and not for the profit.
And do you have some examples of that?
I think what we would really want to see, like if we were serious about developing technology that actually serves the public instead of serving these major corporations, is actually to make technology development something that is back within the public sector, that is not shaped by profit, that is not shaped by the need to increase shareholder value. I think we really got this wrong in the 1990s when the internet was privatized. That was like,
Can you explain us a little bit about that?
Well, the internet was, developed in the public sector. It was, funded by the US government and the US Defense Department, and then was eventually privatized in the 90s. And at that moment, there was a debate in the United States, because the United States kind of controlled it, as to whether it should just be fully privatized or if there should be still like kind of an aspect of, public service, a kind of public sector dimension to it. But obviously the private sector was very powerful and pushed for it just to be given over fully to the private sector in that moment.
In the 90s also, it was this.
Exactly, right? This is like peak neoliberalism. The piece of that too is that then in Europe, in Canada, where I am, we kind of accept that trade-off as well, right? This notion that technological development, and in particular digital technology, is something that needs to be left to the private sector, and that the public sector shouldn't really have involvement in that beyond funding kind of university research that is increasingly commercialized as well. And so I think what we would want to get back to is actually making technological development something that is a prerogative of the public sector much more directly. Actually setting up, say, government agencies or whatever that have a directive to develop technology for the public good, rather than always relying on this technology that's developed by the private sector to increase profits at the expense of all of us, really.
Yeah, Ben, you talked about that in a book, how the public sector...
3 years ago, we wrote a book called Do the Switch with many other authors of the party. And then we wrote one chapter about technology. And it was interesting to look around the world. Where are these kind of experiments that's going on about how do you make new technology without relying on the private sector and the profit motive there. And we talk about why internet should be free and these kind of things. But also we found not so very far, like a couple of kilometers that way, in France, that they still have some remnants of a fund that they use to fund social media creators, YouTubers, to make content that is not depending on advertisement, that's not depending on the YouTube algorithm, because the funding for that content comes from applications that they do at the government. You can say a lot about the way the applications go, but you see that the content that comes out of it is way more informative, way more starts from what people really want to know and what they need to become better in life, instead of what the advertisers and what the YouTube algorithm would check, because those creators, they do not need to sell themselves for the advertisement money. They just can start making good stuff. And I think this kind of model can really transform, because that's good about digital technology. It changes quickly. We have TikTok. Before it was Instagram. Before it was Facebook. So there is this cycle.
We won't have to take all that back again.
No,
we can think of taking what's going to be new in a hand then.
And for this, I think there is a lot of room to create incentives for what will be the next, for instance, social media.
Interesting. Thank you. The fourth and last statement. It's not technology that's bad. It's the system. We talked about that a little bit. Okay.
Sure,
that was easy. That was easy.
Yeah.
Okay. Iris, you want to start?
I think we've already kind of discussed it, right?
It's just
yeah, absolutely. You know, the system shapes the technology that comes out of it. And so if we change the system, we change the technology, in my view.
So you're linking the technology to the fight to the system then?
Absolutely. I still think that in this moment, if the system can't be changed, I think there's still reason to combat certain technologies that are causing harm. But ultimately, if we're thinking about like the root of the problem, in that case, obviously, it's the system that shapes these technologies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I think with the party, we go for socialism. But on our route towards that, let's use technology to the best to support that struggle.